What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to JJD TV. I'm your host, Josh, and today we're coming at you with a little interesting video. A lot of you guys actually tagged me in a different content creators video and basically asked my opinion. Plus, it was a kind of a rumor that was going around, and that is George Benson. If you guys are not familiar with him, he's from GBFC over on YouTube. He covers Chelsea FC, which is where this little rumor came to. So he did a video which I watched, and he had some good points, but I would like to kind of do a little counter to it. So I haven't talked to George, so I think he's a fantastic content creator, and maybe one day we could do a collab. So if you guys want to bug him with this video, you're more than welcome to. But he basically talked about a potential swap deal between Callum Hudson-Odoi and Jadon Sancho, and he made some relatively valid points, and I'm going to talk about them, and I'm also going to talk about the reasons why I don't think that this is going to happen or should it happen. So let's get started. Looking at the transfer and or swap deal, however you want to look at it. Knowing the transfer value of the two players, you're going to know that it's going to be a cash plus player, which would be Callum Hudson-Odoi plus cash for Jadon Sancho. Pretty straightforward. But there's a few issues with it that I have right away, and it's the fact that English players, and I've talked about it all the time on this channel, and he's touched on it, that the market value of Callum Hudson-Odoi is 35 million, while Jadon Sancho is about 90. And he said it himself on his video that more than likely Chelsea would be valuing him upward to 50 mil. And that just, it kind of doesn't make sense for me on this deal, because when you look at someone like Jadon Sancho, who is at the top of his game right now at the young age of 20, like, he's going to go over to Chelsea and he's going to be a fantastic player, break right into that team and be exactly what George and his team would want. He's doing it on the international level, he's doing it at the club level. Callum Hudson-Odoi, for example, isn't quite that. This year he only started about 10 games, played in 23. He had a few goal contributions. I believe he had 5. He is a young talent, and he has a high ceiling, which is a good thing for us. But the big issue of why this wouldn't be a typical Dortmund English signing is because he's already been linked to the league. Looking back at when we got Sancho, I mean, he was a very promising young kid, but he didn't do it at the big level yet. We took a chance on him. We brought him in for pennies on the dollar, and he's turned into someone where we're going to make probably anywhere between 80 to 90 million on him. Jude Bellingham, we spent a little bit more money, but still wasn't proven at that top level yet, not in the Premier League. We spent a little bit more on him, and we've already made our money and then some for this young kid. And the big thing is that they're thriving in this league, and it's something that caught the eye of this trend of bringing English players to the Bundesliga because of the success of Sancho, for example. You've seen some other players make that jump. Some have worked out, some haven't. I mean, Lookman's an example of one who didn't quite make it out, but Sancho's obviously one, and now Bellingham as well is someone who has made it. So when looking at Callum Hudson-Odoi, the reason that this strikes me immediately that's something that shouldn't happen for Dortmund is because this isn't the typical Englishman. This isn't someone who just was down in the lower leagues. He has played for Chelsea, and the biggest thing is he has been linked to the Bundesliga. He was linked with a 35 million move to Bayern not that long ago. It seemed like that was something that Hudson-Odoi was interested in doing, because seeing probably the success of someone who is his same age, which is Jadon Sancho at Dortmund, and it didn't go through. Bayern wasn't able to get it over the line, and now with the depth in Chelsea, with Pulisic, with now Havertz and Werner coming in, Ziyech as well. I know this is all about their front three, but he's having a struggle and a hard time being able to come in. And even George has alluded to the fact that he likes playing on the left-hand side, where he's now forced to play on the right. And if you brought Sancho in, Sancho can play both. Sancho, in my opinion, now is more comfortable playing on the left, but that's due to Guerrero behind him. But he, for most of his Dortmund career, probably have played out on the right-hand side. And Hudson-Odoi coming here as a replacement could potentially make sense, but the biggest reason for me that it wouldn't is because of the money factor. Now that Chelsea know how Hudson-Odoi has done at this level, and he's been linked to the likes of Bayern, there's no way they're going to sell him to us for even his market value at 35 mil. Well, like I said, Sancho, for his market value at 90 mil, is probably what you're going to pay for him. So if there was any type of swap deal, Hudson-Odoi's Premier League tax is just going to get risen up, and we're going to be overpaying for a player like Hudson-Odoi to bring him to the Bundesliga. On top of that, a big issue that we've been talking to for a long time now, especially through the rumors of Dean Henderson potentially coming to Dortmund, was I don't like the fact that a player like Dean Henderson is going to come to Dortmund to arguably probably play 2 years at the most and then ship back out over to the Premier League. Now, there's no guarantee that Hudson-Odoi can do what Jadon Sancho has done, because he arguably, I know he's had some good minutes and some good looks here and there for Chelsea, but in my opinion, he's still not a finished product, and we don't know exactly which way his development would go. If he came to Dortmund, you could argue that this is an exact replica pretty much of Jadon Sancho in the terms of a young Englishman. He likes taking on players. George mentioned that as well in his video. But it's still not a finished product, and we don't know which way this is going to go. On top of the fact of dropping $50 million on a player like Callum Hudson-Odoi, who, in my opinion, is overpaying for him, and then not having the possibility of him reaching the levels that he may do, like what Sancho did. And with that being said, down the line, when inevitably he's going to be going back to the Premier League, we may not make that much money on him, which is an interesting thing. It was a good debate, and I really enjoyed watching his video on the heres and theres of why this swap deal would work. Now, I haven't seen any legitimate rumors going around there that this will actually happen, but I thought it was a very interesting video in the fact that the Hudson-Odoi links come up, because honestly, when I saw the Callum Hudson-Odoi links and knowing that Sancho was linked to Chelsea, I immediately thought of this swap deal, and then people were tagging me on a video that he did, and I just wanted to get my 2 cents in, because I do think that the ceiling for Callum Hudson-Odoi is absolutely impressive, and he is a fantastic player. I've seen him come on, but I just don't think he's really proven it enough for Chelsea to get the number that I know Chelsea and those Premier League clubs would look for a young Englishman, which his market value is 35, so I promise you, if a swap deal did happen, it would probably be 50 million plus another 30, 40 for Sancho, and I just don't think that's a very strong deal. We've also been linked to the likes of Rafinha from Leeds, Akone, who actually we are just finding out today that those links, those very promising links, don't even seem to be legitimate. So it is an interesting one to debate, because if Sancho does go, we need to replace him, and I don't know exactly which way to do it, but I wouldn't look towards a young English player to do so, because I think we are just going to be losing money. I'd prefer Rafinha, for example. He's had a fantastic season. He's lightning fast. He's really thriving on that attacking football, which the Bundesliga has plenty of, and would be able to come in naturally as a Sancho replacement, just for an example. But those are my 2 thoughts, guys, so I definitely want to hear what you guys have to think about it, because it's a swap deal that, like I said, I don't think it's going to happen. It's not a legitimate rumor, but it's a fun little debate, and seeing the other perspective from George's side was very interesting, and I can see how he thought it would make sense, especially with the fact that Sancho was a lifelong Chelsea supporter. We would get a direct replacement. We have a tendency to develop very talented young Englishmen, but like I said, the downside of the 50 million cash, the downside of the fact that he may not hit that ceiling, and he'll inevitably be going back to the Premier League, just makes it too big of a risk for me to even want to prolong this conversation. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. Would you like to see it happen? Would you not? Let me guys know in the comment section down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll have a lot more transfer stuff coming up for you. So if you're new around here, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.